So very often, parents and other individuals who have a disabled family member, disabled child, and want to apply for Social Security benefits for that individual, but realize that that person cannot handle their own financial decision making, want to be able to have authority to use Social Security benefits for that person's care and other needs. And the way to do that is to apply to be that person's what's called representative payee. That is a designation by the Social Security Administration that acknowledges that a disabled individual who's receiving Social Security disability benefits or supplemental security income is unable to handle financial decision making themselves and needs an advocate or a proxy recognized by Social Security to do that. So a representative payee is either an individual or it can be an organization. In Missouri, sometimes a company called EmpowerMe is appointed as a representative payee. If someone is residing in a long-term care facility, that facility to which Social Security benefits are paid for lodging or residential treatment is made the representative payee. And that is an appointment through Social Security for the management of the benefits of a person who's disabled who cannot handle their own financial decision making. So the main responsibilities of an individual or entity that is named as a representative payee is to use the benefits that that person receives for current and future foreseeable needs for that individual. Now, if someone is the representative payee for an individual who is receiving supplemental security income benefits, there are more restrictions on the use of those funds. So SSI benefits or supplemental security benefits are used primarily for shelter and food for that individual. So there are strict requirements that are beyond the scope of this talk today for which those SSI benefits must be used. So a person or an entity that is a representative payee for those benefits really has to know how those benefits can be used. And any benefits that are not used in a particular month would be saved for future use for the benefit of that individual. A representative payee must also keep excellent records of how benefits are used, keep track of the monthly benefit, any notices that are received from Social Security Administration, and provide reports on an annual basis that are sent by Social Security to the representative payee to account for how those benefits are used on a monthly basis. How to become a representative payee? Usually a parent, if we're talking about an individual, not a special needs trustee, would become the representative payee for a disabled child's Social Security payment, whether that be, again, SSI or SSD, Social Security Disability. If the parent is the special needs trustee, certainly the special needs trustee could be the representative payee, but it's usually someone who is living with and very intimately familiar with the ongoing daily and monthly needs of the disabled individual. And it's very easy to apply for representative payee status by going to the Social Security website, which is www.ssa.gov. There is guidance on that website. If you just type in how to become a representative payee, they guide you through that process. The application itself is an SSA-11, which is the request to be selected as representative payee. And the documentation that's required to be submitted with that form to be representative payee. And generally, Social Security had been requiring pre-pandemic that the application also be accompanied by a face-to-face interview. But some Social Security offices are not having face-to-face interviews. So there may be a telephonic interview, or you would contact your local Social Security office to see if they are now scheduling those interviews. So once an entity or an individual is appointed as representative payee, The responsibility of the individual is to set up a representative payee checking account into which the funds will be directly deposited by Social Security. And the titling of that account is the individual who is the representative payee. So it would be Deborah Schuster, representative payee for Jane Doe. And the preference is for it to be a checking account because the assumption is going to be that those funds are going to be used on a regular basis, monthly basis for the individual. And Social Security does encourage the use of interest-bearing accounts if there are monies that are not going to be used on a monthly basis. Now, most checking accounts do not carry interest, but if there are additional funds or a back award, since an individual who receives Social Security can keep up to $2,000 in their name, to have an interest-bearing account for those funds is something that Social Security really prefers. So the representative payee is not required to use any of their own funds for the needs of the disabled individual, but again, must exclusively use the funds of the disabled individual for that person's benefit. The only exception is if the disabled individual is over the age of 18 and living with a parent or someone else, and their Social Security would be paid as rent or for food and rent to the individual with whom they're living pursuant to a rental agreement. So that is often an agreement that is drafted by attorneys and submitted by the parent or the representative payee when actually the Social Security is paid for food and shelter. And that is a legitimate payment for value. The representative payee can also be reimbursed for out-of-pocket expenses that are incurred on behalf of the disabled individual. But again, they must keep excellent records to substantiate any reimbursement to Social Security.